My son's wife didn't slap me. She didn't push me. She just looked around my kitchen and said, "You don't belong here anymore." I turned back to the sink so she wouldn't see me cry, but that was the moment my broken heart quietly started to wake up. Before I go on, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. I still remember the first day I walked into this house. Back then, the walls were bare. The floor smelled like new wood. The kitchen was nothing but an empty box with a sink and a light bulb. My husband Harold stood in the doorway with paint on his hands. He grinned at me and said, "Baby, this is where you're going to feed generations." He was right. I cooked in this kitchen when my belly was big with my first son. I cooked here when my youngest came home with his first A. I baked cakes in this oven for funerals, birthdays, and church potlucks. I wiped little tears off this countertop, and big grown man tears too. 40 years. 40 years of stirring pots, burning my fingers, saying prayers over simmering pots of soup. My kitchen wasn't fancy, but it was mine. It was my heart with cabinets and a stove. So when my son's wife made me cry in that very kitchen, it felt like she stepped right on my heart. That day started like any regular Tuesday. I woke up before the sun, like old women do without needing any alarm. My knees popped when I swung them off the bed. I sat for a moment, whispered, "Thank you, Lord, another day," and shuffled my way toward the kitchen. The house was quiet. Marcus had already gone to work. That boy always did leave early, even as a grown man. Tanya was still in bed, phone glow on her face till late night, sleeping half the morning away. I filled the kettle and set it on the stove. The whistle echoed in the silence. I made myself some tea, strong and dark, the kind my mama made when life was heavy. I stood at the sink, mug in hand, just looking around my kitchen. The old wooden cabinets Harold hung himself, crooked at first. We laughed and fixed them together. The yellow curtains I sewed from bargain fabric when we couldn't afford new ones. The black cast-iron skillet hanging on the wall, the one that had fried more chicken than I could count. Every scratch had a story. Every stain remembered a day. I was cracking eggs into a bowl when I heard soft footsteps behind me, slippers dragging, not lifting. That was Tanya. "Mornin', Mama Elaine," she said, voice light but tired. "Morning, baby," I answered. She leaned on the doorframe and watched me. She always watched, like she was studying something old she planned to upgrade. Tanya was beautiful. I'll never say she wasn't. Her hair was braided up neat, lashes long and full, nails pink and glossy. She smelled like coconut and perfume. Wherever she stood, she looked like she belonged in one of those online pictures. But there was always a look in her eyes, a sharpness, like every room she walked into was a project she needed to fix. She glanced around the kitchen slowly. Her mouth turned a little. "You still get up this early to cook?" she asked. I smiled. "If my hands still work, the stove still works." She gave a small laugh. "You know they have meal services, right? And Marcus and I can just order something. You don't have to do all this." "I know," I said, "but your husband grew up on my cooking. He still comes home hungry, so I still cook." She didn't answer. She stepped closer instead, picked up one of my recipe cards from the little basket by the stove. The card was browned at the edges, grease spots in the corner. My handwriting faded, but still there. "What's this?" she asked. "Sweet potato pie," I told her, "my mama's recipe." She snorted softly. Handwriting recipes. That's so old school I swallowed the comment sitting on my tongue. You learn, as you get older, that every thought doesn't need a ride out of your mouth. She dropped the card back, didn't slide it, just let it fall. I poured the eggs into the pan. The sizzle filled the room. The smell of butter and salt rose up like a memory. "You want some breakfast?" I asked her. "I'll make a smoothie later," she said. "I'm trying to eat clean." I nodded. I didn't say a word about her eating clean over my unclean stove every day for 3 years. No need. She moved to the corner where my big old flour canister sat. Harold bought it the year we got married. We cleaned it up. I painted little sunflowers on it. She tapped it with her nail. "This been here forever," she said. "Almost," I smiled. "Longer than you." She didn't like that. I saw her jaw tighten. She opened one of the upper cabinets, saw my mismatched mugs, a chipped World's Best Mom mug Marcus gave me when he was 10, a faded mug with a Bible verse, a plain blue one from the dollar store. She sighed. Everything in here is old. Yes, I said. It's been loved a long time. She closed the cabinet harder than she needed to. The thud hurt me more than it hurt the wood. She walked to the fridge, opened it, looked inside like a health inspector. Do you ever think about changing things? She asked, her reflection in the fridge door. Changing what? I asked. I mean the kitchen. The whole house, really, she said. New cabinets, new dishes, new appliances. You know, modern, not all this, she gestured with her hand, this old stuff. The eggs were almost done. I stirred them slow. My chest felt tight, but my voice stayed calm. This kitchen raised a family, I said. This old stuff got us through a lot. She shrugged. Yeah, but that was then. Things are different now. She walked to the center of the kitchen, turned in a small circle, taking it all in. Her eyes were cold, judging, and then she said it. My son's wife didn't slap me. She didn't push me. She just looked around my kitchen and said, "You don't belong here anymore." The first time she said it, it knocked the breath out of me. It sounded different without the echo of a narrator's voice. Just real. Sharp. Cruel. I froze. Eggs on the flame, hand on the spoon. Come again? I asked. She stared at me. You don't belong here anymore, Mama. Not like this. Always in the kitchen, always hovering. This is mine and Marcus's house now. We need space to live our life. I felt my throat close. My ears rang. I turned back to the sink so she wouldn't see me cry. I pretended to rinse a plate. The water ran over porcelain. The tears ran down my face. She kept talking behind me. Mama, you should be relaxing somewhere, watching TV in your room, going to one of those senior centers, not standing on your feet in here like it's still your house. Still my house. Those words floated over from her mouth to my heart and hit something deep. I gripped the edge of the sink. The kitchen blurred. I saw for a second my younger self, standing in this same spot, holding a baby on my hip, stirring a pot, paying bills at this same table, fighting to keep the lights on when Harold got sick. She wasn't there for any of that. But she sure was here now to claim the reward. I turned the faucet off, wiped my face with the side of my sleeve, took a deep breath. I don't belong where exactly? I asked, still facing the window. In here, she said. In this kitchen. In this role. You had your time. Now it's our turn. Me and Marcus. We're trying to build our future, and it feels like we're living in your past. In my past, I repeated softly. Yes, she said. Your curtains, your dishes, your old traditions, your way of doing everything. It's like a museum. You're too attached to all this. Marcus and I, we want a modern home. We can't breathe in here. I finally turned around. The words in my head were shaking, but my voice came out steady. Do you feel that way? I asked her. Yes, she said quickly, then added, Marcus does too. He just doesn't want to hurt your feelings. I didn't believe that part, but it didn't matter. What mattered was this. She felt bold enough to say it, in my face, in my kitchen. And what's your plan? I asked. If I don't belong in here, where do I belong? She shrugged. You should rest, Mama. Let us handle things. Maybe your room. Maybe we put a chair in the living room so you can watch your shows. Or maybe we look at some really nice senior communities. They cook for you, clean for you, everything. I don't need anybody to cook for me, I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. You're making this hard. I'm trying to help you. You shouldn't be worrying about groceries and bills at your age. That's our responsibility now. Our house, our bills, our style. Our house, she said. Not once did she say your. This not your kitchen, Tanya, I said. This not your house. She chuckled under her breath. Marcus pays the mortgage now. On a house that was already almost paid off, I replied. By me and your father-in-law. Don't forget that part. She looked at me hard. So this is how it's gonna be? This is how it is, I said. She sucked her teeth. Mama, you're being dramatic. We're just talking about updating some old stuff and giving you a break. You don't have to take everything so personal. But it was personal. Every word she said landed in a place money couldn't reach. She walked out of the kitchen, phone already in her hand. I heard her in the living room. "Girl, I told her," she whispered. "She starts crying over everything." She's so sensitive. It's just a kitchen. Just a kitchen. I stood there for a long moment. The eggs burned a little around the edges. I didn't care. I took the pan off the heat, turned the stove off, sat down at the table. For the first time in 40 years, I didn't feel at home in my own kitchen. I felt in the way. I looked around slowly. The cabinets, the curtains, the chipped tile, the little clock Harold hung that always ran 5 minutes slow. To her, it was clutter. To me, it was proof we had lived. I pushed myself up from the chair. My legs were heavy. I walked down the hall to my bedroom, closed the door all the way. I didn't want her hearing me cry this time. I wanted these tears to be mine. I leaned back against the door and slid down until I was sitting on the floor. The sobs came out of me like they'd been waiting for years, not just for this moment, for every little disrespect I had swallowed, every eye roll, every sigh, every "you're too much" and "you're too old" I had pretended not to hear. My chest hurt. My head ached. I put my hand over my heart and whispered, "Lord, I don't know how much more of this I got in me." After a while, the tears slowed. They always do. When my breathing calmed, my eyes landed on the old cedar chest at the foot of my bed. Harold built it for me on our first anniversary. "Put your treasures in here," he had said. "Not everything, just the important things." I crawled over and lifted the lid. The hinges squeaked, but they still held. Inside were old blankets, a quilt my mama made, photos and envelopes, neatly stacked, wrapped in a rubber band. I picked them up. My name was written on the front of one, my full name, Eleanor Grace Washington. I opened it, pulled out a folded document, the house deed. My eyes scanned the page. The print was small, but I knew what I was looking for. Owner, Eleanor Grace Washington. No Tanya, no Marcus, just me. I flipped through the rest. No second deed, no recorded transfer. Just my signature and Harold's from decades ago. I reached for another envelope. Property tax receipts. All paid, all in my name. Light bill, water bill, homeowner's insurance. Some in my name, some in both mine and Marcus's, but never just theirs. I felt something strange then. The pain in my chest didn't vanish, but it shifted, made room for something else. Clarity. My son's wife told me I didn't belong in my own kitchen. She said it like a judge, like a landowner, like someone doing me a favor. But she had forgotten something. Paper doesn't forget. I kept reading, line after line, date after date. All those years I was paying, I was also protecting, even when I didn't know it. I closed the envelope, sat there with it in my lap. The house felt different now. Not because walls had changed, because I remembered who they belonged to. I didn't feel powerful, not yet. I still felt old, still felt sore, still felt like a woman whose son let his wife talk to her any kind of way. But I also felt something else, a small, quiet fire starting to burn. I folded the deed and all those receipts back up. This time, I didn't put them in the cedar chest. I put them in my purse, right in the front pocket. I stood up, wiped my face with both hands, looked at myself in the mirror. Eyes swollen, hair wrapped, lines on my face deeper than they used to be. But there was a new line there, too, a line of decision. My son's wife made me cry in my own kitchen, I said to my reflection. But my heart isn't going to stay broken. I picked up my purse, pulled out my phone, found a number I hadn't called in years. Mr. Mendez, my husband's old friend, and our lawyer. The phone rang twice. Hello? Mr. Mendez, I said, clearing my throat. This is Eleanor Washington. I think I need to come see you. His voice softened. Miss Eleanor, of course. Is everything all right? Not yet, I said, but I intend to fix that. He paused. Come by tomorrow morning. Bring any papers you have. We'll talk. I hung up, held my purse a little tighter. Tanya thought this was just about curtains and dishes. She thought it was about old stuff in a modern home. She had no idea she had just pushed the wrong woman into the right decision. My heart was cracked, yes, but now, in the crack, something new was growing. Not revenge, not hatred, a boundary. I walked back toward the kitchen slowly. I could hear her still talking on the phone, laughing, telling her friend how she finally told the old lady the truth. I didn't say a word. Not yet. The time for talking was coming, but when it came, I wasn't going to just bring my feelings. I was going to bring my papers. I hardly slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again. "You don't belong here anymore." Those words walked up and down the hallway of my mind. They sat in my chair. They stood at my stove. They wrapped themselves around my pillows. Around 3 a.m, I got tired of turning over. I sat up on the edge of the bed. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to comfort me. Now it just felt sharp. I reached over to the nightstand and touched my purse. The deed was still inside. The bills, the receipts, proof. I lay my hand on top of it like you lay a hand on a Bible in court. "Lord," I whispered, "you know I ain't perfect. You know I've yelled when I should have prayed and cried when I should have stood still. But please, don't let me be a fool in my old age. Help me stand right." The prayer didn't fix everything, but it calmed something. I must have drifted off for an hour because the next sound I heard was birds, not my alarm clock, birds on the maple tree. Morning had come whether I was ready or not. I got up slow. My knees complained like they always do. I told them, "Hush, we got things to do today." I dressed in my dark blue dress, the one I wear for serious business. I wrapped my hair neatly, put on a little powder, a soft lipstick. Not for vanity, for armor. Old women know, when you go to fight for something that's yours, you don't show up looking defeated. In the kitchen, the light was dim. The sun hadn't pushed through the curtains yet. I filled the kettle, put it on, but my stomach was too tight for breakfast. I heard Tanya's door open down the hall. Her slippers slid across the floor. She walked in, yawning, scrolling her phone. We met eyes. For a second, something like guilt flashed across her face. Then it disappeared. "Morning, Mama," she said. "Morning," I replied. "You cooking?" "No," I said, "not today." She blinked, surprised. "Oh, okay, I'll order something, like always." She opened the fridge, moved things around, closed it again. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the space around me, like she was already picturing it without me. "I have an appointment," I said. "With who?" "An old friend," I answered. "We got some catching up to do." She shrugged. "All right, don't overdo it." I picked up my purse. When my hand touched the strap, I felt that little surge again. Not anger, not fear. Resolve. I walked out the front door. For a brief second, I turned and looked back at the house. The same way you look at someone you love who doesn't quite recognize you anymore. "Hold on," I whispered under my breath. "I'm coming back for you proper." The bus ride downtown felt longer than usual. I sat by the window and watched Atlanta slide by. Liquor store, hair salon, church, vacant lot. Same city, different eyes. At one stop, an older woman got on holding a grocery bag. She smiled at me and sat across the aisle. She had that tired but kind look I recognized immediately. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Sometimes older black women just nod at each other like soldiers who made it home from the same war. When my stop came, I stood, clutched my purse, and stepped down carefully. The sidewalk was cracked. I knew how to place my feet around broken things. Mendez and Associates. The sign above the door looked smaller than I remembered, but the building looked the same. Brick, heavy wooden door, little bell that rang when you walked in. The receptionist smiled. "Good morning, ma'am. How can I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Mendez," I said. "My name is Eleanor Washington." She tapped her keyboard. "Yes, ma'am. He's expecting you. You can go right in." I knocked softly on his office door. "Come in," he called. I stepped inside. The room smelled like paper, ink, and coffee. Books lined the walls, framed degrees. A picture of him with his grandkids sat on the corner of his desk. He stood up with some effort, smiling. "Miss Eleanor," he said. "Well, you haven't changed much." "That makes one of us," I replied, smiling back. He gestured to the chair. "Sit down. Let's see what's troubling you." I sat, placed my purse on my lap. "Now," he said, "when a woman brings a purse that heavy into a lawyer's office, I know I'm about to see something important." I exhaled. "I don't want to waste your time," I told him, "or mine." "Then tell me the truth," he said. So I did. I told him about the kitchen, about Tanya, about the words, "You don't belong here anymore." I told him how I turned around so she wouldn't see me cry, how I came back to my room and opened the cedar chest, how I found the deed. He listened without interrupting. His eyes softened in some places, hardened in others. When I finished, there was a long, gentle silence. He leaned back in his chair. "Bring the papers out," he said. I opened my purse and laid everything on the desk: the deed, the tax receipts, the bills, old insurance forms. He put on his glasses and picked up the deed first. He read slow, line by line, front and back. He tapped the bottom. "This your signature," he said. "Yes." "And this is Harold's." "Yes." He flipped a page. "There's no new deed," he said. "No transfer, no sale." "I never signed one," I told him. He nodded. "So far, so good." He glanced up at me over his glasses. "Miss Eleanor, as of this document, you are still the sole legal owner of that property, no matter who's living in it, no matter who thinks it's their turn." Something in my chest loosened. I hadn't been crazy. He picked up the tax receipts. "Looks like you've been the one paying these, too." "Up until Marcus started helping, yes," I said. "But it's always been in my name. I just let him take over the online payments recently. Or so I thought." He took a couple of utility bills: phone, light, water. Some in your name, some in both. Nothing with Tanya's name alone. I felt a small, cold relief, like finding out a wound wasn't as deep as I feared, but it still hurt. He set the papers down, folded his hands. "Miss Eleanor," he said slowly, "I'm going to say something you might not like hearing, but I owe you the truth." "Go on," I said. "You have given people permission with your heart that you never gave with your hand." It stung, because it was true. "You let your son and his wife move in." "Yes." "You let him help with the bills." "Yes." "You let her do things in your kitchen, in your home, without ever really laying out what was and wasn't okay." Tears stung my eyes. "I was trying to be a good mother," I whispered. He nodded. "I know." "You were being generous. But generous without boundaries becomes what?" I swallowed. "Abuse," I said quietly. He didn't argue. "Legally," he continued, "this is your house. Anyone living there who isn't on this deed, they're there because you allow it, not because they have the right." My fingers curled around the armrest. "And she told me I didn't belong." "Yes," he said, "and that's why we're here today." I took a shaky breath. "I don't want to drag my son into court," I said. "I don't want my name in any foolish drama. I want my respect back. I want my place." "We can work in steps," he replied. "First, we establish your ownership in writing. Second, we set terms for anyone living there. Third, if they don't honor those terms, we escalate." "Terms?" "Yes," he said. "Rent, rules, restoration of anything they damaged or sold. Basic respect." My heart thumped. "Rent? For my own son?" He looked me in the eyes. "Didn't he make you feel like a guest in that house?" I thought about the way Tanya said "our home" and "our kitchen," about Marcus letting her talk for him, about me crying at my own sink like a stranger. "Yes," I said, "he did." "Then treat them like guests," he said. "Guests pay something. Maybe not full price, maybe not forever, but they contribute, and they do not get to change the house rules." I stared at my hands. They were trembling a little. Not from weakness, from the weight of a new idea. "What about what she's already done?" I asked. "The things she's thrown away, the changes she's made without asking." "We'll need a list," he said. "What's gone? What's broken? what she replaced without permission. My kitchen chairs, I said. The old ones are gone. My good crock-pot is gone. A set of dishes my mama gave me. A quilt box from the pantry. I'm sure there's more. We'll document it all, he said. And if you know she sold any of it, legally, that's conversion of property. At minimum, she owes you the value. I don't know who she sold to, I said. He waved a hand. Sometimes we find that out later. Right now, what matters is this. You stop bleeding. Bleeding? Yes, he said. Bleeding money, bleeding respect, bleeding peace. You close the wound first. Then we see how deep it went. It made sense in a way that hurt. He pulled out a clean sheet of paper, took a pen. All right, he said. Let's start with what you want. I want her out, I blurted. The words surprised even me. Completely? He asked. I hesitated. I saw Marcus's face in my mind. Him at 5 years old, hiding behind my skirt. Him at 16, crying in my arms when his daddy died. I don't want to put my son on the street, I said softly. You wouldn't be, he replied. You'd be putting a grown man in a grown decision. There's a difference. I shook my head. I want options. For me and for him. Not just one thing. He nodded. Good. That's wise. So, option A, they stay but under a written agreement. Option B, they move out. Let's design option A first. If they refuse, we fall back on option B. All right, I said. He started writing. Rent. Reasonable amount, acknowledging he's your son, but also that they're a separate household. House rules. No major changes without your consent. No disposal of your property. No disrespect. Clear consequences if they break that. The word disrespect on that paper lit something in me. You can write that? I asked. I can write expectations in polite words, he said, but the spirit is the same. He slid the paper toward me. You read it. You tell me if anything feels wrong. I read slowly. Lines about ownership, use of space, financial contribution, respectful behavior. At one point my vision blurred and I had to blink. Not from age, from emotion. He watched my face. Too harsh? No, I said, too kind. To them, but just right for me. He smiled a little. That's how you know it's fair. He typed everything up proper on his computer. The keys clicked steady, like a train carrying my old life into a new station. When he was done, he printed 2 documents. One was a formal letter declaring my ownership and setting a meeting date at the house. The other was the proposed agreement. He slid them over. Miss Eleanor, are you ready for this? Ready? I repeated. Yes, he said, because once you hand this to them, things will not be able to go back to the way they were. They might yell, they might cry, they might twist the story, but truth doesn't untwist just because someone doesn't like it. I thought of my kitchen, my cabinets, my son looking away while his wife spoke for him, me holding my tears in like they were the problem. I'm more ready than I've been for anything in a long time, I said. He nodded. Then I'll send this formally by mail and email. But you can talk to your son before it arrives if you want. I shook my head. No. Let him see it in black and white. He needs to feel what it's like when silence stops covering him. We wrapped up. He made copies of my documents and gave me fresh ones, neatly clipped. As I stood to leave, he said, Miss Eleanor? Yes? Don't let them turn this into you being mean or ungrateful. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just finally doing right by yourself. I swallowed hard. Thank you, I said. I stepped out of his office feeling taller, not younger, just more present. On the bus ride home, I held the envelope in my lap. People got on and off. Nobody knew this old woman carrying a plain white envelope was about to flip a whole house upside down without raising her voice. When I reached my street, the air was warm. Kids were riding bikes. Somewhere, a radio was playing old soul music. Miss Ruby from 2 houses down was sitting on her porch shelling peas. She waved. Hey, Miss Eleanor. You look like a woman on a mission. Maybe I am, I said. She laughed. Well, don't let that mission raise your blood pressure. Too late for that, I joked. When I got closer to my own house, I slowed a little. There were boxes by the trash can. My handwriting on the sides. Christmas lights. Old pots. My heart dropped. I rushed closer and opened one. Inside were some of my old cookbooks, one of Harold's chipped coffee mugs, my mama's rolling pin. Not trash, not junk, pieces. The lid on the second box wasn't taped properly. Inside were some framed photos. Me and Harold, me holding baby Marcus, family reunion pictures. I stood there on the sidewalk with my hand covering my mouth. Someone driving by probably thought I was just an old woman staring at garbage. I wasn't. I was looking at my life, sitting beside a trash can. The front door opened. Tanya appeared, phone in hand. "Oh, hey, Mama," she said. "You're back." I pointed at the boxes. "What's this?" She waved her hand like it was nothing. "Oh, I went through some of the cabinets. Just getting rid of clutter. I told Marcus last night. We're starting with the kitchen. Don't worry, I kept anything important." My ears rang again. "Important to who?" I asked. "To us," she said. I took a deep breath. "In those boxes," I said, "is my mama's rolling pin, my husband's mug, and pictures of my children. You're telling me those are not important?" She rolled her eyes. "Mama, I didn't mean it like that. You can keep whatever you want. I just put it out here because we're donating some and tossing some. You can check tonight." "Tonight?" I repeated. "Yes," she said. "We've got a whole vision. Once we redo this kitchen, you'll thank me." I smiled then, a slow, small smile that did not reach my eyes. "You've been real busy for somebody who don't pay the taxes here," I said. She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I replied. "Not yet." I picked up the box with the photos. My fingers dug into the cardboard. "I'll take care of these," I said. "Sure," she shrugged. "Whatever you want." She turned and walked back inside. I watched her go. For the first time, I didn't feel small when she turned her back on me, because this time I had something she didn't know about, the truth, on paper. I carried the boxes around to the back door and into my room, set them on the bed. One by one, I took the things out, touched them, whispered, "Not yet. They don't get to bury you while I'm still breathing." Later that day, Marcus came home from work. He looked tired, tie loosened, shoulders slumped. "Hey, Ma," he called from the hallway. "I'm in here," I replied from the kitchen. He walked in, dropped his keys in the bowl by the door. "Long day," he sighed. "I bet," I said. For a minute, we were just mother and son again. Then Tanya walked in behind him. "Did you see the boxes I organized?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Mama, it's fine, right?" "We're just trying to clean up." I wiped my hands on the towel. "Marcus, I have a question." "Sure," he said. "Did you ask them to put my things by the trash?" He hesitated. I told Tanya we needed more space. She said she'd handle it. "Handle it how?" "Just clear out old stuff," he said weakly. "We're trying to make the house more modern." I looked at him. Really looked. "You were raised on that old stuff," I said. "You did your homework at that table. You learned to walk on that old floor. You ate at that old stove." He looked down. "Mama, don't start. I'm tired." "So am I," I said. There was a silence, thick. Then I took a breath and said, "You're going to get a letter soon." He frowned. "A letter from who?" "From Mr. Mendez," I said. His eyes widened. "The lawyer?" "Yes." "For what?" "For this house," I said simply. "For me. For you. For how we're going to live in it from now on." Tanya crossed her arms. "Why would you get a lawyer involved?" "This is a family matter." "It stopped being just a family matter," I said, "when my family started treating me like a visitor." Marcus stepped closer. "What did you do, Mama?" "I remembered who owns this place," I said. He swallowed. His voice dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, choosing each word with care, "that I may have cried in this kitchen, but I'm done crying without action. It means you're going to have some decisions to make. And it means," I rested my hand on my purse, "that the next time you or your wife decide what belongs in this house, you're going to remember whose name is on the line that matters." Nobody spoke after that. They just stared. For the first time, I realized something. I didn't have to raise my voice. My papers were going to speak loud enough. That night, when I lay down, my heart still hurt, but it didn't feel helpless anymore. It felt armed. And that was the beginning of the second part of my story. Not the part where my son's wife made me cry in my own kitchen. That had already happened. This was the part where my heart, though cracked, refused to stay broken. The letter had done its job. 3 days later, they packed their things and drove away. I stood on the porch, watching the car disappear. No yelling, no tears this time. Just silence, soft and final. Before I go on, tell me where you're listening from, and if this story still has your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. When the sound of the car faded, I went back inside. The air felt different, lighter, like the house had finally exhaled. The sun slid through the kitchen window. Dust floated in gold lines. The floor creaked the way it always had, but this time the sound didn't hurt. I stood there a long time, looking at the space where their shoes used to pile up by the door. No bags, no voices, no tension walking behind every footstep. Just me. And the quiet. I thought quiet would feel lonely. It didn't. It felt earned. I brewed myself tea the way I used to before they moved in. The whistle of the kettle was almost a song. I poured it slow, sitting in my chair, hands wrapped around the mug. I looked around my kitchen. Every little thing told a story again. My chipped "World's Best Mom" mug, the old cast-iron pan, the yellow curtains fluttering like they remembered laughter. For a long time, I just sat there, listening to the sound of peace. Later that evening, Marcus called. I saw his name flash on my phone. For a second, I just stared. Then I answered. "Hey, Ma," he said softly. "Hey, baby," I replied. There was quiet on both ends. Then he said, "We're settled in the apartment. It's small, but it's ours." "That's good," I said. "Small don't mean bad. Small means close." He chuckled. "Yeah," he said. "We're learning that already." "How's Tanya?" I asked. He paused. "She's adjusting. She's mad, but she'll come around." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "I hope she does," I said. "Anger's too heavy to carry forever." He sighed. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry again. For everything. I know," I said. "And I forgive you." The words came easy this time, not forced, just true. We talked a little more about his new job hours, the leaky sink in the apartment, and how he still couldn't cook eggs without burning them. It felt normal again, simple, like mother and son. After we hung up, I sat there smiling at the phone. It buzzed again, his text. "Love you, Ma." I typed back. "Love you more." That night, I slept better than I had in months. No late-night arguments, no slammed doors. Just crickets and the hum of my old refrigerator. The next morning, I woke before sunrise, just like always. The house was still. I made coffee and walked to the porch. The sky was pink and wide open. I thought about everything that had happened. The tears, the words, the papers, the boxes by the trash. It could have broken me completely, but it didn't. It changed me instead. After breakfast, I pulled out a notebook and wrote one line at the top. "This is still my home." Then, under it, I started listing things I wanted to do now that peace had returned. Paint the kitchen again. Fix the back fence Harold built. Plant more flowers by the porch. Maybe even host the church ladies again for Sunday supper. By noon, I had music playing on the radio. Old soul songs, ones Harold used to hum while fixing things. I sang along, off-key, but happy. Later, Miss Ruby from 2 houses down knocked on the screen door. "Eleanor," she said, "I see them cars gone. Everything all right?" I smiled. "Better than all right," I said. "Everything's finally in its place." She chuckled. "Well, I'm frying catfish tonight. You come eat if you don't feel like cooking." "Oh, I feel like cooking," I said, "but I'll bring dessert." She laughed. "That's the Eleanor I know." When she left, I went back to the kitchen, tied my apron, pulled out flour, sugar, butter, and sweet potatoes. I hadn't made pie in a long time, not since before Tanya started taking over the stove. But that day, I wanted my kitchen to smell like home again. The radio played Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come." I hummed along, rolling the dough, feeling the rhythm move through my hands. I didn't cry this time. I didn't even think about crying. because for the first time I realized something important. My tears had built more strength than pain ever could. When the pie was baking, the smell filled every room, warm, sweet, familiar. I looked around and whispered, "See, Harold? We made it. The house still stands." In the afternoon, I heard the mailman again. Same walk, same shuffle of letters through the slot. One envelope stood out, small, handwritten. I opened it. It was a thank you note from Marcus. Inside was a short message. "Mama, thank you for teaching me what strength looks like. Thank you for not yelling when you could have. Thank you for showing me that peace has power. Your son always, Marcus." A tear slipped down my cheek, but it wasn't sadness, it was release. I placed the note beside my Bible. Then I went outside, sat on the porch, and let the sunset touch my face. I thought about Tanya, too, how young she was, how quick she was to see value only in new things. Maybe one day she'd learn that age doesn't mean useless. It means proven. Maybe she'd look back at that kitchen and realize what she'd thrown away wasn't clutter. It was legacy. The street was quiet again. Kids played somewhere far off. A dog barked. The wind carried the smell of someone else's dinner. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like someone forgotten. I felt like someone remembered. By my house. By my memories. By my own spirit. I leaned back and closed my eyes. There was no anger left. No resentment. Just peace. I had cried in my own kitchen, but my heart hadn't stayed broken. It had rebuilt itself right here. One breath, one prayer, one cup of tea at a time. And if anyone ever asked me again where I belonged, I'd smile, point to my front door, and say, "Right here. Always have, always will."